Hi, Steve Lackmeyer here. We've got exciting news to talk about today. Developers David Wanzer, Ben Sellers, and Jonathan Dodson have all teamed up to buy the Tower Theater on Northwest 23rd in Uptown and have some pretty ambitious plans ahead. But for now, they're talking about the purchase and the theater itself and what made this an attractive project. Appreciate them visiting with me here at the theater. David, first of all, talk about what we're seeing here in the background.
In the background, you're seeing the Grand Auditorium. Set about 900 people in the Tower Theater. There's a balcony above us, and we're standing in the lobby entrance into the Grand Auditorium.
This was a pretty sophisticated theater when it opened. Talk about that.
It was. It opened around 1937. Advertisements in Oklahoma and back in the era advertised scientifically controlled air conditioning, special hearing features for the hearing impaired. That was a top-notch, state-of-the-art theater for its time, and really one of the more grand theaters built in that era of the 1930s in a suburban setting, actually.
Some movies had a decent run here, didn't they?
They did, yeah. It was a first-run theater. Its golden era from, or first golden era from its opening through maybe the 50s or so. It was a first-run theater, set 1,200 people. So it was a large theater for its time as well.
And talk about, a lot of this building's been stripped out, the theater hasn't, but how important is the theater space itself?
The theater space itself is critical to remain as this grand auditorium space. It really is one of the last remaining theaters from its time that has not been demolished or chopped up into various other arrangements. So this auditorium is a very unique space in Oklahoma City, and it's critical that it remains such.
Talk about the basic components of the building itself.
The building is essentially two buildings. You have the front two-story building on 23rd Street that has ground floor retail and an office core upstairs, and then the entrance lobby, which goes through that first building to the second building, which is actually the two-story theater itself.
The more recent years haven't been kind to theater. Talk about that.
Well, you know, it actually had a second golden era with a second round of owners. And through the 60s and even through the 70s, it was actually, again, a movie house that catered to the suburban audience, and more of an urban audience at that time. It was best known for showing The Sound of Music for 82 consecutive weeks in the mid-60s. It did finally fall on hard times and had a brief run as an adult movie theater, had about a year where it was a concert venue, and then it finally went dark over a decade ago.
I understand there's some vintage posters that might not be appropriate for display.
We found a couple of interesting artifacts in the building.
We've been involved with the City of Oklahoma City and OU's Institute for Quality Communities on creating a framework for 23rd Street or Uptown. And the Tower Theater is a big component of the future growth and revitalization on 23rd Street.
I think that there is a sense that this is a missing piece to 23rd, and it's just the movement that has happened on Uptown 23rd. So if we can fix this, it becomes a great place to be able to, with the work Ben's doing in IQC, all of a sudden it becomes a place where you can walk and there's not these dead spots. One of the things that I'm most excited about what's being done is we're not just changing the building type and the users, but the actual infrastructure of the streets. So we're going to have sidewalks, we're going to be able to cross the street, and to me that's the game changer, because for my family, we've got 4 kids, and if it's on the north side of 23rd, we don't go there because we can't walk there or ride our bikes there. And so all of a sudden, within a short period of time, we're going to go from a street that was fairly blighted to a street that has some of the best retail in town, and you can walk to it, and you have multiple ways to walk to it, whether it's along 23rd or through historic neighborhoods like Heritage and Mesta.
We'll start construction doing a few small odds and ends over the next couple of weeks. So you'll start to see the neon get restored, the windows will be cleaned. We'll have to put together a game plan over the next few months so construction can start in earnest right after the holidays, so winter of 2015. And we should have tenants moved in by 2016. We're still working on tenanting ideas for the Tower Theater building. We know the upstairs of the front building will be office space. The downstairs of the front building will be ground floor retail, commercial, restaurant type space. It's very important that the theater space itself remain open and not chopped up into smaller sections as had been proposed by some potential buyers that approached Marty and Mike Dillon. So we take that responsibility very seriously. It might be one of the last remaining historic theaters that has this opportunity to still stay intact in an open environment, an open theater space.